Hello, everyone. This is Paul, and we are starting session 4 of the Outside campaign. With me, we have Connor from Dice on Ice. We have Jason, Jim, and Karen. Unfortunately, Chris and Josh could not make it tonight, but we'll see if we can not kill them off. We'll start off. If you guys want to introduce yourselves, we'll start off with Connor.
Hi, I'm Connor. I'm one half of Dice on Ice. We're a YouTube channel. Find us on the same name. And I'm playing a Subject X tonight, and I am a mute character who just got uncovered underneath their armor and their suit, their Enviro suit, to reveal a innocuous-looking young woman underneath with stripped vocal cords. She possesses power of a very, very ulterior motive-driven faction from within our place of origin. And what she's doing out here is a great mystery to everyone, including herself.
Thank you. And Jason.
Hello, I am Jason Osorio with my very small channel, Concepts and Characters, and I will be playing Swifter Than Swords, a supposedly pureblood hob, which is sort of a orcish goblinoid creature, though he's about 6 feet, so he's not exactly of goblin stature. And he is a monk, a member of a temple dedicated to the preservation of hob culture in the city of Sanctuary, the mountain stronghold of Sanctuary, where we all come from, except for CB. Called the Temple of the Pure, and he has been sent out to essentially survey the outside in the name of finding anything useful, anything that might bring enlightenment to his peers. He's a bit grumpy, he's a bit grouchy. He also got hit pretty hard at the end of last session, so he has good reason for it. He is older, but yeah, I'm looking forward to tonight's session and actually being here for the entirety of it.
Thank you, Jason. Jim, you're up.
Hey, I'm Jim. I run a channel called Jim the GM, where we do lots of games, whether it's D&D, 7th Sea, and it's a lot of Genesis right now. Check it out. I'm playing CV Sunderdome, our shortish friend who talks to himself and to everybody else in third person, who, when we cut off our last game, had literally just hulked out, basically looked at everybody and said, "I'm always angry," got big, and starts running at the thing, at our big bad evil for the moment. I'm curious to see what happens when my only foil, the only person in the party who that CV has gotten closer to, is the player's not here. So I wonder what I'm going to do when the rest of you magic bastards are doing your thing, and I'm not appreciative.
I thought it was with Swifter that you were bonding with, being against magic.
Well, Swifter, yes, for sorts, but I keep having to protect Chris's character.
Oh, right. Well, that's what we're having Josh's character do. That's why they're both not here.
All right, I've only got a few points left to spend, and I'm ready to kick some butt. At least try to.
All right, thank you, Jim. And Karen.
I'm Karen Davies. I don't have a channel to plug. Just going for the ride. I'm playing Cacophonix. He's a angsty, kind of self-centered, arrogant bard. Likes his black leathers, his studded boots. Right now, he's kind of having a little bit of a crisis because the big metal lug that he's, been kind of dissing this entire time turns out to be this poor, unassuming, fragile young girl, and he's having trouble coping. Then, of course, now we're in a big fight, and we'll see what happens.
Thank you, Karen. And just a quick Okay. Oh, boy. Okay. Roll off for the two of you. We'll see, just so we get initiative going. Unless you guys want to choose where. Okay. Well, let's see if you go first then. Okay. Well, between the two of you. All right. Oops, what happened there? F technology. It's been messing up all night for me. There we go. All right then. So most of the party was just managed to escape like a little bit of a cave in. Well, it's like the floor give way, and they got rushed through some water, but they managed to climb out. Just as they're walking past the entrance, they hear excuse me, they hear some noise outside, and looks like Swifter's something snuck up on Swifter. They thought he was keeping an eye out, and
He's old. Lay off.
and we'll have since Chris and Josh can be here, we'll have Chris's character. We'll have her fall through the floor again, and Josh, because he was originally the original party, because they were from a different party. They were assigned together, so he's trying to pull her out, trying to make sure she's okay. So that's why they're not coming to Swifter's aid. All right, Cacophonix, you're up. So you guys are. I think you guys are still in the entrance area. So I can say we'll say one movement. You can get to the outside if you want, or you can leave Swifter.
Good nice knowing you, Swifter. No, I'm just kidding. So, Cacophonix hears the scream of the poor old man as he takes this nasty hit, and he runs to the entrance. And what does he see?
Now, I forgot to get my pictures, but basically, you fought something similar to this. It's this big floating creature with a glowing face area, almost like it's cloaked up. There's a lot of twigs and maybe cloth or something. It may have been humanoid at one point, but it doesn't look like it's may not even be alive. Who knows? But this is a lot bigger than the ones you've seen before, and it looks like it just hit Swifter, and Swifter's not looking too well. Looks like he may not. He may find enlightenment soon enough.
Okay, so as Cacophonix comes around the corner and he sees this standing in front of him, he lets out a string of expletives followed by "you glittery, glowing, misty bastard," and it needs to make a saving throw wisdom, DC 13.
I have my niece rolling for me tonight, and she rolled a natural 1.
Okay, so it's going to take a whopping 2 points of psychic damage, but it also has disadvantage on its next attack roll that it makes before the end of its next turn, as I viciously mock it. And that is my turn.
Okay, and next, it does not look too happy.
Oh, sorry, I forgot one thing. Can I give a bardic die to Swifter as a bonus action?
Sure. And what does what can just remind us what he can do with Your bardic inspiration.
So within the next 10 minutes, he can use it to roll and add to an ability check, an attack roll, or a saving throw. He can wait till after he's rolled to decide whether he wants to use it or not.
Is it a D6, Karen?
Yes, it is a d6.
Thank you.
Now, you said disadvantage on the next attack roll?
Yeah, on its next attack roll.
And I also like to show you, I didn't say anything, but she actually made a little dice tray for herself out of paper. So proud moments. I don't even know if I've told her about dice trays. So here, if you can roll 2 of them. So she has disadvantage. Natural 20 then. She rolled double natural 20s. Okay, so I guess that's not good. You know what? Let's go random. If you could roll that dice, we'll say even for Swifter and odd for Cacophonix. Okay, it's shifted from Swifter, luckily, and going after Cacophonix. You came up and you didn't like what you did to it. So, Cacophonix, you take 10 points of damage. No, it's a crit, 20 points of damage. What? Are you unconscious?
Yeah, so with that, as the expletives are running out of Cacophonix's mouth, and he does this, he gets swatted and flies against the back of the cave wall and kind of clumps into a little blood.
Wait a minute, aren't you the healer of the group?
Nope.
No, okay.
Well, kind of, except I don't have any of that left.
Oh, okay. Well, it didn't matter then. All right. That was the first attack. Here, Bella, can you roll again? Oh, actually, just the one. Reroll. One. Just roll it again. Oh boy. Swifter. I'm assuming 23 hits you. I'm sorry. I think you're going down with 10 points of damage.
Yeah, so Swifter sees Cacophonix fall, and his stoic, grim, gray face falls into this expression of horror. Even though he was not especially fond of Cacophonix, he was still a hob, and he takes a step forward towards Cacophonix's body, and the Baelnorn just clubs him over the head, and he just falls face first into the ground, not moving at all.
Okay. Let's see, CV. I'm going to take it that you're going to run up.
Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bonus action. I change my focus from my brute force to iron durability. So I've got a +1 to my AC right now. So my AC is just at a 16. However, we ended the last game. Seeing this thing, I'm already in ogre form. CV double fist this spear is running up, and he's out to hurt something. All right. All right, here we go. CV is going. CV runs up and goes, "In the CV hurt you." It's an 18 on the dice, so a 24 to hit.
Yes, that hits.
Okay, it's going to be 7, 10, 11, 12 points. 12 points of damage.
Oh, so that's 14 total. It's looking it's looking hurt. It looks like it still has some fight left in it.
Okay.
All right. Is that it?
How it'll take my entire move to get up to it, you said?
Yeah, we'll say it takes your entire move to get up to it.
Okay.
And Subject X.
As the two of her companions fall from these blows from this terrible creature of this terrible world, she yells out to say something, but only a raspy wind comes out, a muteness to her voice. She cannot speak, and so she cannot yell. Instead, she holds her gauntleted hand, powered by 4 infinity stones, powered by a gem inset on the palm, and activates it. It hums with a purple energy, and boom, from it launches in Eldritch Blast. So I'm going to use my bonus action to place a curse upon this creature, and then Eldritch Blast it. So we get an attack roll here. That would be a total of 17 to hit.
That hits.
Nice. So we're doing a total of 9 points of force damage to it. And then I would duck behind whatever cover is available, perhaps the archway of the stone entranceway, or maybe a pillar or something, just to have some kind of cover.
Okay. Let's see. Swifter, could I get a saving throw? A death saving throw?
Yeah, I rolled a 14, so I passed.
Ooh. Would it be wrong time to say let's up this to lethal and go 15 DC? No? Okay.
This isn't Tomb of Annihilation, man.
This isn't Cryfoth. Get out of here.
No resurrection.
Wait.
15
Spoiler
DC.
warning.
Cacophonix, could I get a death saving throw?
I rolled a 6.
Woohoo! One step closer to death.
Yes.
The final death. And Belnorn is coming at you, CV, because you're the only one standing.
Come get you some.
Let's see how many times it hits you.
Currently have a 16.
It only hits you once for 10 points of damage as it slashes.
What was the roll on that one?
18.
Okay, cool.
Are you taking it?
I'm taking it. Yeah.
So comes in and he slashes at you and he cuts through your defenses and hurts you.
Concentration check. Cool. I've got a 13 on the dice. So it should be good.
Yeah.
Total.
And CV, how are you going to retaliate?
I'm gonna. Oh, okay. I'm gonna drop 2 more points on him. And this thing is still standing after our 2 hits. Right? Okay, I'm gonna drop 2 more points on it. So I am currently using where to go? Brute Strike. I get a D6. That's a bonus action to use it. I get a D6 bonus damage to a single melee attack for each point spent. So I'm up to a D10, a D4, and 2D6 plus 3 damage. Come on, big money. 21 to hit.
Oh, that hurt. That hits.
Oh, I was like, it went 5, 15. Watch me roll a bunch of.
It's not wearing any armor. Doesn't look that hard to hit.
Watch me roll a bunch of ones. No, that is not a bunch of ones. Okay. 7, 15, 23 damage.
Okay, that might be enough. Yeah,
That's
that's enough. You just doubled its damage. It had 23. And it's dissipates. And the remains of whatever was there, the branches and cloth, just fall to the ground, and that whatever light was coming from it just fades away.
Subject X runs over to the unconscious body of Cacophonix and tries her best to stabilize him.
I assume we're still in initiative right now because we have to make death saving throws, right?
Yes, we're gonna stay within initiative.
Okay.
So yeah, that was subject X. So roll a medicine check.
Hmm.
Try to stabilize.
I got a total of 1.
Does a 1 do cause a death saving throw?
It wasn't a natural one, mind you. It was not a natural one. It was a modified one.
It's like
it's not unlucky. I'm just very poorly skilled.
he doesn't need this blood, and this opening needs to be bigger. Imagine the scar.
How else can you let the happiness in?
Okay, so
I would like to say that I failed at the.
I think that's
Don't die on me, man.
Swifter, another saving throw.
I rolled an 18.
Ooh, getting close to the 20. All right, so that's 2 successes for Swifter and Cacophonix. Let's see if you can get a little positive roll instead of the negative one.
I rolled a 3.
Oh, that's 2 failures. No successes. That's not good. CV.
Looking over, seeing that subject X isn't necessarily doing a great job, and I've got 2 options. I just still big, fall to my knees, boom, hands on top of Cacophonix, and start trying to bandage, pull out to take care of everything that I possibly can with an absolutely terrible skill in medicine.
Before you say anything, if you want, the 2 of you can provide assistance to each other so you get advantage on that roll. If you think you want advantage on that roll to help Cacophonix, who's bleeding out.
I think that might be useful.
Maybe I forget what the DC is to stabilize. Is it 12? Is it 10?
10.
Then I don't want it.
Okay, you don't want help. So you stabilized Cacophonix?
I think Subject X and CV both have the same bonus to medicine because I rolled an 11 and got a 10.
Oh boy, the 2 worst healers in the group are the ones that are standing. It's like, what's a Band-Aid? I don't know. We never use Band-Aids.
Band-Aid. CV fight to death. What? No.
Subject X wore this giant Enviro suit for the past
Did
few
I
months
give?
of her life.
I didn't give out any healing potions.
Nope.
Nope.
Oh boy, I'm a mean DM. Okay. All right, Subject X, you want to try to save Swifter?
Because Cacophonix is now stabilized, right?
Yes.
Sure. Let's give this a shot.
TV put a hand over the wound and it covered the whole wound up. So yeah.
There we go. That's good enough for me. All right, come on, Swifter.
Apply pressure.
There we go.
A lot of pressure.
18.
There you go. So the 2 of them are now stabilized.
I say we drag them within the ruins and the catacombs, get a campfire going, and kind of await their consciousness.
This is one of the fastest combats. It almost resulted in half the party, at least the present party, dying. Wow.
Oh man.
All right, so you're taking a long rest.
Are we?
Well, are you? It's only two of you that are standing.
I mean, that's what I would suggest. Is just like, hey, let's just bunker
was
down.
Hey, don't listen to me. If you want to continue on, go right ahead.
Of course, Subject X is unable to really voice her opinion. She would only motion to the unconscious forms of her companions and suggest non-verbally that they are very weak to continue.
Oh no.
As is obvious.
CB, with it's like looking at it as a short rest, and when after an hour, when nothing gets better, CB realizes that this is going to be a lot longer than he expected. Yeah, so you rest, and CB will stay up and wait for you to wake back up or somebody else. Sorry, CB looks at you and goes, "I'm back to small now. I'll only last for a minute."
Okay, so we'll say a short rest, and Swifter wakes up at 1 hit point. But I will allow Swifter to use and CV and I don't know if CV and Subject X were hurt, but you can use hit dice if you want.
Well, I mean, I'm at 0 available hit dice because of my incident at the water park, if you know what I mean.
Okay. And if you, so a few more hours pass if you're not doing anything, and Cacophonix finally wakes up, and I'll allow you to use hit dice as well if you want, or are you guys deciding to take a long rest?
I vote long rest because
At this point, long rest.
Badness, all the badness.
Okay, so don't use any hit dice, and you recover because you're level 2, so you recover 1 hit dice. Is it?
Yep.
But all your hit points. So we'll say that this is not how I was expecting it to go so quickly. We'll say that I forgot her name, Chris's character. We'll say that she broke her leg.
Isling,
yes. Isling broke her leg, and Josh's character, whose name I forgot too, is
Azaki.
Azaki is going to stay with her because they're not here, so that's what they decided to do. And yeah, she can't put any weight on it, and she can't. He doesn't want to leave her alone. So, okay, what would you guys like to do now? There's pretty much, as far as you can remember, there was one way to go still. You have to make it past that room that you fell through. Or you can leave, but it's up to you.
I think once Swifter has recovered, from this long rest, his gray skin still bruised in the places where the Baelnor just utterly smashed him about. He looks over with these dark brown eyes at you, CV, and he just says, CV, were you the one that brought me back? Or who was it that kept me from traveling to the afterlife?
She did. It wasn't CV.
And Swifter looks very slowly over at Cacophonix, and he was one of the last people to see her outside of her Enviro suit, and it sort of took him aback, and he sort of gives her this very slow, deliberate once-over, and this just deep, grim old man frown settles across his face. And he doesn't say anything as he sort of turns a little away from her, facing more towards Cacophonix and CV, not saying anything.
I think you mean Subject X.
Turning away from Subject X, more towards CV and Cacophonix.
Yeah, Swifter is all about the pure hob. So Cacophonix is part hob, and CV's proven himself in combat, but the little girl saved him? Oh, that's just insult to injury.
It's more that and the fact that she uses magic so frequently, and he's, the Temple of the Pure is very much about this idea that absolute power corrupts absolutely, especially magic. So it should be used when necessary and should be tightly controlled.
And if anyone's corrupted, it's Subject X.
Obviously.
Okay, so what would you guys like to do now? Head back in or run for the hills?
So, what does CB know, like, about the Belnorn? Are they usually in groups? Are they like solo wandering kind of creatures?
I believe you were coming to this place. You, told it might be a central point for them, maybe the source of their power. And you've seen them and fought them, individuals, mostly, like the odd one here and there. Sometimes a few of them, but it was rare you saw them in large enough group. It was more like a small group of you would go out, take out maybe one or two in a group. But mostly was one here, one there.
Okay.
And you can see how deadly they are. One hit could take out, one person at a time. So you've lost a few friends to them.
Okay, I'm down to go back in. The CB will stand and listen to what everybody else would like to do, but ultimately CB will make the suggestion to go back in if nobody else does.
And you do know that they were sort of tasked to discovering the source and destroying it. That's what you believe you're here for. So you think the source of the Belnorn is here. If you stop it, then there won't be any more. And and the party is doing this to prove themselves to their allies, so that even though their allies are against magic, and your society is sort of mostly pro-magic, you think you might try to prove that your magic is not evil like the Belnorn magic. So, but they could totally within their rights to just pack up and go. But then I don't know what CV would do all by himself, if he would go in or not.
Well, no. After in this nice rest and comforting pillow that I slept on, Cacophonix wakes up and he's all gung ho and like, we can do this. We can die today. This is good. Let's go.
Subject X just has like a look on her face of like confusion when you say that. Just weird, like, kind of look, The glancing around at the other companions, wondering if she heard the same thing that they did.
Swifter will stand up to his full height of about 6 foot, maybe 1 or 2 inches over that. He sort of brushes off his vestments, which is really just sort of this cloth vest with a little kind of leather hood, and then breeches with a short sword and a staff. And he looks at you, Cacophonix, and he actually, the corners of his lips start to turn up a little bit, but then he settles his face back into the customary frown and says, "If that is what it takes, then we shall do this. Let us go in if we are ready." And then he looks at you, CV, and says, "You should lead us, CV. You are clearly stronger than the three of us." And he gestures towards Cacophonix and Subject X.
Sevia, who's been leaning against the side of the cave, listening to this, when you say that, stands forward and goes, "No, nah, no. Sevia does not lead. Sevia, Sevia takes directions. Sorry, I've been playing a Russian character lately. Sevia does not lead. Normally, people tell Sevia what to do, and Sevia does it. Sevy's not such a good scout. you really don't want Sevy up front.
I am not asking you to scout ahead, Sevy. I am asking you to simply stand at the front. We will be right behind you.
Oh. You want me to be the shield?
Yes, because you are strong. And Swifter kind of
interrupts you and goes, Sevy can do that.
Good. And Swifter looks over at Cacophonix, sort of shakes his head, and then starts moving towards Sevy so he can lead the way into the cavern again.
Sevy is pretty much your stereotypical dumb grunt who, like, every time that you see the movies, he's definitely not the smart guy. He's the one who's going to stay a private his entire life and take orders. And he's real happy to do it. So, Sevy stands there and waits and goes, well, where do you want Sevy to lead?
And Swifter just sighs a little and is like, into the only place we have not been. Let's go inside the cave, Sevy. Please.
Sevy puffs himself up at his full 2'6" and starts to march along with his spear.
So my niece is just going to bed then. So I said thank you for almost killing 2 characters.
Yeah, that was great. Before we actually go into the cave, Swifter is going to kind of step aside with Cacophonix for a second, if he will allow it. So he kind of looks at the other hob, the not pure blood hob, and just says, I do not know if we should leave Azaki and Islin here by themselves, but I do not think we have a choice. Is there any sort of magics you can lay upon this place to protect them?
You're muted?
I just muted myself. I could give them a farewell dirge. They might enjoy it.
That is not what I was thinking of, but if it is all you can do, then perhaps that is all you should do. And Swifter shakes his head and starts walking into the cave.
And so Cacophonix would leave them with a song as he starts walking away down with Swifter, letting his dulcet tones, be the last thing that they hear of this party.
And Subject X takes up the rear, allowing for a bit of distance between Cacophonix and her so that the sound is not as droning and loud. Because she's finding it's much more loud and much more intolerable without having a giant copper helmet to kind of dull the sound. So she's going to give a bit of a distance.
They say that they're fine, and they'll come ahead if the way is clear. They'll come ahead, but right now they'll stay here and they'll stay out of sight, and they should be fine.
Please try not to die until we get back.
We've been out here a lot longer than you have. We'll be fine. We're not dead yet.
That's what they all say.
So I think you guys are heading back into the room that you fell through the floor.
Yep, a little bit more cautious this time than the last time, you know? So that less deaths and near deaths occur.
Yeah, well, we don't have that clumsy elf with us anymore, so we might be okay.
That's true. That's true.
So back into this room, there's a few safe spots, maybe along the sides. You're pretty sure you can make it across, no problem, to the to where the floor still looks stable.
I'll focus on being more more athletic. You'll see just my muscles, they just bulge just ever so slightly. You see my veins, striate. You see them bulge as my muscles, you can see my muscles through my skin. Not necessarily getting stronger, but becoming more physically aware.
Subject X watches her footing, having flashbacks. You can see it on her eyes, on the expression on her face, of those terrible, terrifying, traumatic moments where she was drowning to death within her own copper prison. Just maybe a day before than this one.
Cacophonix is kind of looking moving kind of nonchalantly. He's kind of got this natural nimbleness that he's going, and he kind of looks back at Subject X and sees that she's a little bit timid, so he holds out his hand to help her.
Swifter, as he's sort of prodding at the stone ground beneath him with his quarterstaff, just to test the ground to make sure it's not going to give way suddenly, since he's seen the hole in the floor and he figures that this cavern is not exactly stable. He stops when he notices Cacophonix sort of reaching back to help Subject X, and he looks and he sees the fear on this strange copper-haired girl's face, and his eyes narrow a little bit. And there's this expression that flickers over his face before it fades as he shakes his head and he turns and continues moving slowly and carefully.
Jim, can you roll athletics with... Actually, everyone had advantage anyway. Athletics or acrobatic.
I have a 14.
So so marching order. Well, I guess CV's going first.
Yep.
Followed by
I guess Swifter will be behind CV just to make sure that he continues moving forward.
And then who's next? Subject X or Cacophonix?
Subject X will still take the rear. She'll be slow to progress, and so it'll be hard for anyone to move, be able to actually progress much if they're behind her. She's the rate limiting step here.
All right, so everyone, you climb up a bit. I think there were bookshelves. It's been a couple months. Some bookshelves that had fallen over. So you guys climb up and use those to get across the room. And Cacophonix gives Subject X a hand up, but then she hops. Subject X hops over, no problem once she gets up there, and you make it into the other room, which looks a little different. This first room you just left was more looked like it was a library, but the books were mostly worn, like they either faded or disintegrated. It's been a long time, and it looks like you tried reading them, but there wasn't a lot you could Isleen could glean from them. This next room is set up a little different. There's actually alcoves in the side. It's about the same size room, but along the side there's alcoves. And each alcove you can see a faint glow coming from them.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, is it a flickering glow or is it like a solid, constant glow?
Roll a perception check or investigation.
Yeah, Cacophonix is not really paying attention. That's a 5 on perception.
You think there's flickering, maybe they're candlelight, like a candlelight or something flickering, or like a small fire, maybe, but it doesn't look that important. Just it's yeah, you can't really tell from this angle. They're like inside the alcoves, which you can't really see. You're just seeing more like a glow from a light source.
Have you all been in this room before? I was outside the cave tending to the striders when you first went in, but have you been in this place before?
No. Remember, you know that hole we just passed over in the last room? Yeah. The elf kind of made that hole, and we all fell down it, and so...
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I don't remember Azaki being so clumsy back home, but perhaps, things are different here.
He got really excited about the books and stuff. I don't get it. They're old and musty.
Interesting. And Swifter's going to move towards one of the alcoves if he can to get a better look at what is causing this potentially flickering light.
You move over to first one, and recessed into this alcove. It's big enough for maybe it's big enough for at least one person. A little wider, might be able to squeeze 2 people in. And there's a pedestal, and it looks like a stone pedestal and a glowing orb floating inside of it. And if it wasn't floating, it looks like it could rest inside the pedestal, but it's floating maybe 6 inches, maybe 4 or 5 inches at the about there, floating from the pedestal.
Does this orb look like anything? Does it look like the same kind of light that flows from the Baelnorn, maybe?
Roll an investigation check.
That is an 11.
The color seems similar to you, but you weren't really paying attention to the creatures when they were attacking you so much. Like, you weren't studying them. You were just trying to keep alive. But you think maybe the color is the same. But aside from that, you didn't have time to look at it in any detail.
So Swifter will look over his shoulder at you, Cacophonix, and say, Cacophonix, come here for a moment and see if you can do anything with this. It appears to be some sort of magical orb. It is floating above a pedestal, I'd say a little less than a foot. Perhaps you can make heads or tails of this.
When he points out the magical orb, does that trigger anything that I might know about what we're looking for, or anything of my people?
Anyone can roll an investigation check. Actually, CV can also roll. I will give you a history at disadvantage. Just for CV.
Oh, I even have history. Okay. Here we go. I know. I'm a big dumb brute. Or a little dumb brute, but I've got history. It's a 20 and a 13, so it's going to be a 16 total.
Okay, so anyone rolling investigation?
Could I roll again or no?
No.
I think Subject X, instead of really investigating it, would actually just use her crystal palm and kind of scan it with its own detect magic capabilities, using her detect magic ability upon it and getting its information that way.
Okay. Cacophonix, similar to what I said for Swifter, maybe the same color, light, but you weren't paying attention. You didn't examine it too much before it started attacking you. And then once they're dead, they disappear. Yes, there is magic. Yes, they are magical. Now you're going to make me look up schools of magic again. Let's see. Is there a list of schools of magic? Oh, here we go. Okay. I found it, Jason. Thank you. Now, you think that it's combination of where was it? Maybe divination. Yeah, maybe divination. I think is the best one. You're sensing an aura of divination from the orb. And CV. Sometimes it pays to read those books you're not supposed to read. But not that you might believe anything that's in those books. But there were stories from some old books that you found that you were kind of told not to look into, but you probably did when you weren't being watched. And you think the Belnorn, some of their knowledge, they was kept in like a magical archive, sort of, and this sort of fits to this description of what it might be, a glowing orb of knowledge. And so forbidden knowledge, I guess.
Okay.
For you.
Can we pass it off as I heard someone, somebody else who had read it talking to someone else? I overheard a conversation. And
Sure.
this, cool. CV is visibly excited and at the same minute just apprehensive. CV says, CV doesn't know if this is exactly what we're looking for, but it's definitely important.
So hearing that and having Swifter than Swords call him over, Cacophonix, in his infinite wisdom and great intelligence, is going to reach out and pick it up, grab it out of the air.
Can I get a wisdom saving throw? Unless you want to fail it. That's up to you.
Pretty sure I'm going to fail it anyway. That's a 9.
Okay. Wave of magic sort of slams into you, and you go unconscious. But you have some nice vivid dreams. Visions or something. Yeah.
And Swifter just watches this happen and then looks at CV and just says, shit. And then he's going to get down, and I guess, I mean, is he stable, or he's just unconscious? He's just passed out.
It looks like as soon as he grabbed the orb, he fell over backwards, but the orb is clutched tightly in his hand still. Aside from maybe a bump on his head that he might have for hitting the floor or the wall or something, then you think he might be fine, but you can't tell. Like, physically looks okay.
So Swifter is... Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Jim.
CV points his spear down at Cacophonix, and after this, and you're checking on him, I'm going, should we kill him?
And Swifter actually takes a second to think about it and then just shakes his head. No, we should not kill him. CV, see if you can, and he points at the orb in Cacophonix's hand, see if you can use your spear to move that out of his grip. Perhaps that will bring an end to whatever this condition is.
CV, not being the wisest of everybody in the group, goes, okay. And will grab the spear very close to the hand, grabs Cacophonix's forearm right under the wrist, and tries to pry it out with the blade.
Okay, roll. Roll a strength check, strength check.
Okay.
Could I assist? Not that CV will need it, but could Victor assist in some way?
If CV will allow it, sure.
Yeah, so I mean, he'd probably just like hold the arm steady and the hand steady, so there's no wobbling or anything that might go on.
Okay. So just flat strength. Just flat strength.
Strength check.
Okay.
Yeah, so flat strength.
It'd be a 14.
So you put the blade between where? Just want to know where you're putting the blade of the spear, or is it the shaft of the spear?
Oh no, I'm using the blade. I'm not smart.
And where are you putting it exactly, just so I know?
I'm actually trying to put it in under the palm, or between the palm and the spear.
Cacophonix, can I get a wisdom saving throw?
That's a 7.
Oh boy, that's...
Wisdom's not my strongest.
CV, can you roll just straight up weapon damage, no mod? Roll twice and take the lower of the two, because you're not trying to hurt him. Well, it's iffy there, but yeah.
Okay. Could it just be strength damage? Just like flat up strength? The lower is 2. I have a 6 and a 2.
All right, so Cacophonix, you take 2 slashing damage as you are ripped from a dream, a vision, not quite certain. And you were feeling a sense of peace and tranquility, and you get ripped from it, and it instantly starts fading. You can't. So you begin to forget what was going on. You just remember the sense of tranquility and peacefulness.
Yeah, and as that's being ripped from him, Cacophonix is going to yell at like a big, no! No! Come back!
Does he think CV left? Looking over at Swifter.
No, no, CV. And Cacophonix and Swifter will lay this large gray hand on his shoulder and just say, "Calm yourself. You are under some sort of spell. I do not know what you experienced, but it is over now. You are safe."
CV will pull out a sack and try to. Will turn the sack inside out with his hand in it, like he's picking up dog poo. Grab it.
By this point, you've probably realized there is more than one. Not every alcove has a light, but a lot of them do. This was just the first one Swifter went up to.
Yeah, CV didn't catch that at all. Got real focused on this first one. Got it. You pointed, you moved my shoulders facing it. And I was like, got it. Focus on this one. What, there's more?
Perhaps it would be wise to bring these to Solath, to the priest in your village, CV, or perhaps even Iskander, the leader of your Templars.
Holding it with the sack still inside out in my hand. Do I need to make a wisdom save for that?
Let's see. Pick high or low.
Low.
You're fine.
Okay.
No saving throw.
All right. So then I'll grab the sack. Be careful to move around the sphere and or the orb, and now I have it in the sack.
Are you going to grab the rest of them? Or are you going to examine the rest of them?
CV does not examine. CV will take.
So this is where Isleen might have come in handy.
Can I do like an Arcana check on what I experienced?
Yeah, you could do an Arcana check. Yeah, go ahead. Or an investigation, if you want.
Same would be 8.
Yeah, you trying to remember what you saw or what this, but you think it was giving you information maybe or knowledge of something, but then like it was like interactive, I guess. So you were feeling like you were part of it more than just reading a book, but you can't remember the specifics anymore or anything. That's what you feel that it was doing.
Catholics is kind of he's got this look, a faraway look on his face as he's trying desperately to hold on to the memory and what he had learned, because he knew he learned something, but it's all gone. So he's just kind of sitting there, dazed.
Does this room continue onwards, or is it essentially a dead end?
You think it continues on for a bit? There's let's see, 8 alcoves, but not all of them have lights. But then it goes past that into darkness.
Subject X kind of wanders off from the rest of the group to explore further down this area.
Roll investigation or perception.
19 investigation.
You see that maybe 6 of the orbs, 6 of these globes are still lit. Maybe a few of them are flickering more so than the other ones. Like they might have a soft, maybe occasional flicker. There's some that are flickering even more, and then I think 2 of them there's no light coming from at all.
When I look at them flickering, is it like a pattern, or is it pretty spontaneous and what do you call it? uncertain. Like, is it steady flickering, or is it like a kind of a random flickering?
You might have to get a little closer and study it a little more.
Yeah. She does so.
Okay, another investigation check.
That'll be an 18.
Once you get closer, you can see that they look like the one that you're looking at looks maybe cracked, and you think maybe that's the cause of the flicker. Maybe it's losing its whatever magic is contained within it.
Is there anything beyond this room of alcoves?
You can go and check.
Yeah, she does so.
Okay, what's everyone else doing?
I think.
Actually, quick thing. Sorry, if everyone can post their passive perceptions. Let's see if anyone noticed that subject X is no longer with you, and I doubt it. Nope, that's what I thought. So
Wow.
you guys are concerned. You guys are getting, you're focusing on the orb and Cacophonix falling over. What are you doing now?
I think Swifter would sort of be hovering a little over Cacophonix, and he was already sort of knelt down, so he'd actually sort of crouch down on his haunches beside him and just say, What do you remember? What happened when you touched the orb?
I can't remember. I learned something, but I can't remember now. It's all going away. It was so beautiful.
So it was something pleasant. It was not something painful.
No, it was so peaceful. I don't remember.
Well, I don't. And then I think he would start to kind of look around, and then he would probably realize that Subject X was gone, and he would look over at CV and look at Cacophonix and say, "Where did the abomination go?"
CV is at this point going around to other spheres, trying the same trick to grab them and with the sack and.
You're trying to pick up. So pick up more than one in the sack.
Yep.
Okay. So what, Swifter and Cacophonix, what are you two doing when CV's going over across to the other orb? So if there are 4 alcoves on each side, Swifter will say you went to the right,
Cool.
first one on the right. Swifter went to that one. That's the one you grabbed first. So you're going to the first one on the left now.
Okay.
So Swifter and Cacophonix, what are you going to follow CV or look for Subject X?
I don't think at this point that the Cacophonix actually realizes that Subject X is missing.
Well, Swifter just asked where the abomination was.
Yeah, I don't think he was paying attention.
Oh, okay. You're trying to recall that vision and dream.
So seeing that, Swifter will again put one calloused hand on your shoulder, Cacophonix, and just say, "Stay here with CV and try to recover. We need you at full strength. I will bring that thing back." And then he stands up fully, and he actually pulls his short sword out, sort of letting it dangle at his side, and he moves off. Are there multiple paths from this room, or is it just the way we entered and then further into the chamber?
As far as you see, there's just the straight hallway where you came in from and where on the other end.
Okay, so he would head in that direction, and I think Hobbs has some kind of dark vision. I don't know if it's even dark in here or not, but he would just be looking for Subject X again with his sword out and the quarterstaff in his other hand, probably his left hand.
All right, CV. As you grab for the second magical sphere, I need you to roll. You start. Roll a dexterity saving throw.
9.
As you reach for the second one, they start to brighten and get warm, and force just shatters the two of them, and you take 6 points of force damage. And give me a strength saving throw.
Natural 1.
And you get flown back 10 feet. And
Awesome.
Cacophonix, can you roll a dexterity saving throw?
That's a 14.
Just as you're stepping out of the alcove, CV comes flying at you, and you take a sidestep out of the way.
I feel like it's like that R2-D2 moment where I electrocute from being, and they're like, "Ooh!" as I fly across the room.
Was there a big loud like an explosion when the orbs blew apart, or was it like a?
It was like shattering glass, and I'm gonna give Swifter disadvantage on the perception check because you had moved off. See if you even register it.
Probably not. Let me double check. But I rolled a 4 on the die, and with my perception, it is it's pretty bad. So no, I think it's like it's a 6. 6 total.
You're oblivious to the glass shattering behind you, really.
Yeah, I think he's more focused on finding Subject X at this point.
All right, and as you are moving up, Subject X is just stepping into the darkness at the end of the this hallway chamber. Subject X, can you see in the dark?
I used to be able to, but now I can't since I no longer have my helmet.
Okay.
Well, that's not true. That's not true. I do not have the race document on hand. Is the elven bloodline able to see in the dark?
I don't remember now. I think it might have just been the Hob. Let's see.
Because that would be the determining factor here. And I apologize for not knowing my own character.
Well, it's been a while since I've even pulled up the race document.
The elf bloodline does not have the dark vision, according to what I'm looking at, anyway.
Yeah, it was just
fleet of foot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just the.
Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I was wrong.
No, they do.
They do.
It's the bloodline, so it's the second half of the race that the humans don't, but they all the other races do.
There you go. I can see in the dark.
So I think it's just Isleen, I believe. I think she's fully human. But aside from that, everyone here, I think, I think CV can see in the dark too. All right, so I can't throw. So it's pure darkness. So you just have disadvantage on perception checks. That's it. Okay, so it's to you, it's dim light.
Yeah.
As you're stepping, as you step from the glow of those orbs, and Swifter, you can see her stepping into the dim light.
So I think Swifter would sort of bare his teeth in the darkness and just quietly whisper under his breath the mantra of the Temple of the Pure to himself: purity of mind, purity of body, and purity of heart. And then he starts to creep forward towards Subject X, or where he saw Subject X with his sword now leading the way.
Subject X, the room widens from the width of the hallway, and it looks like the wall curves along either way. Are you going to continue along the center, go along one of the sides, or?
So you're saying the room kind of expands outwards, like fans out?
Yeah, it looks like it might go a little round, like it's curved. So if the hallway is, I'll say 10 feet.
Yeah,
It
so
looks like it curves wider
all right.
into a room of some.
She'll keep her mitt on one wall. Let's say the right wall, as she progresses into this area.
So she disappears from view swifter as she looks like she steps off to the side, to the right side.
Yeah, he would keep going. His eyes just scanning the darkness constantly in the direction where she seemed to sort of step off and vanish into the shadows.
You can see her walking along the edge of the wall, and Subject X, you're seeing it curves out a bit, and then looks like it'll starts curving back in. So maybe it's a round room. You've seen maybe a quarter of it, maybe a little more.
Can I see any other entrances or exits from where I'm at, or not yet?
Not at this point. You're a little less than you've just started along the curve, and she's along maybe a quarter of the way ahead of you. Let's go back to CV on his butt, and Cacophonix, you're just standing over him.
Yeah, CV starts saying words in Valois. They're absolutely curse words. He thought he was about to do something great. He was going to be lauded for what he had done. He'd bring back this information. They were going to find if this is not where the Belnorn forces is held and is housed, we would have knowledge to do it. And I just lost 2 of them. And I'm cursing up a storm. I'm still just angry, not paying any attention. Get up, dust myself off, go over, kick at some of these broken shards, pick up my bag that's now just torn to shreds and throw it over my shoulder and look over at you. Still cursing. Go back and pick up my spear and just start going down the hall.
Do you want to pick up any of the other ones down the hall?
No. Somebody smarter can do it than me.
She sprained her ankle.
I can't help her. Or him. I can't help him.
Her. Yeah, she's in the other room. Isleen.
Oh. Yeah,
the magic user, yeah.
So Cacophonix, I'm going to call it an explosion, kind of shook him out of his little daze there, and he's realizing that Subject X is gone, Swifter's gone, CV leaving, and he looks around, and yeah, he's not the smartest. And he's going to go to the next one and pick it up because he really, really wants that feeling back.
So you're going to the next one. Let's say the next one on the right is still intact. And so CV, you walk past it, and Cacophonix, you step in and you grab the next one.
Yeah, I kind of let Civvy get a little bit of ways first, and then I kind of look at him, see he's not noticing, and I reach out and touch it. Grab it.
Roll a wisdom saving throw, or you can fail it if you choose to.
Well, let's see what happens. Oh, I'm failing it. It's a 9.
Okay, you fall over again unconscious, and we'll leave you for a moment. CV, roll a perception check with disadvantage because your mind is not in the right place right now. This group, everything perception-wise goes over these for you.
Nope. Civvy gets an 8.
Okay, yep, you don't hear the big bard falling over again. Well, you probably figured you were going to fall, so you braced yourself or sat down for it, I guess. So you're ignoring all the lights. You're going to walk into the darkness, CV?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's see. Cacophonix. You are sitting maybe on a tree stump outside, and there's a nice breeze. Trees are in bloom. It's actually quite a beautiful place that you've probably never seen anything like that. And before you is an incredibly tall humanoid. They have maybe a light blue tint to their skin. Look vaguely human, but they are a lot larger. Maybe this one is closer to 10 feet tall. And sitting across from you on another stump, and having a nice conversation about different plants and crops and food and stuff, and it's almost like it's just a lot of information coming at you, but you seem to be, maybe it's coming a little too fast for you. You understand this creature speaking to you. You're just gonna, so for it gets off a lot of information off to you, but do you want to interrupt the creature or just sit there?
I think for this, at this point, I would just sit there and listen and try to understand what it's telling me.
Surprisingly, it makes sense. It's just the information's coming at you pretty quickly, but you're understanding. You probably could go back home and teach farmers a lot, even though you're improving the farming techniques, I guess. Maybe soil conditions, fertilizers, water, just a whole bunch of different things that, well, you probably never knew before, but you think you could teach them a few things, and different plants, and about combining different plants together. So it's creating new types of food, like finding the best qualities of one plant and mixing them together and stuff. A little bit of magic, but a little bit of science, advanced stuff that's far more advanced than your than where you're from. And it's going on for a while. Subject X, you've made it another quarter turn around, and you're not immediately finding a door or anything at this point. What would you like to do? Continue walking around?
Yep.
And I'm going to say that you haven't realized you're being followed yet.
Sounds good. Yeah, she just continues to, with a palm on the one wall to make sure she doesn't get lost or stray. Continue to follow this wall until anything of notice, of noteworthy pops out into her
Okay.
field of view.
Swifter, you've made it a quarter turn around. Are you following the wall, or are you going to make a straight beeline for subject X? You could just make her out a little bit. She's a bit further in the darkness, but you think you can make her out. Yeah.
I think he's probably going to follow the wall. I mean, he's old enough and experienced enough to know that just rushing off into the darkness after your enemy or potential enemy is a really bad idea.
You're saying subject X is your enemy?
I said potential enemy.
Okay, CV, you've just started walking in, and you think you can make out Swifter about a quarter turn in, maybe. Like you can't really see the wall, but you think you see Swifter over there. But you can't make out subject X at this time, where she is. Did you want to walk in, I guess, follow, or do something different?
Yeah, I'll just keep on going.
Are you going to follow the wall, or are you going to make a straight line for Swifter?
I'll make a straight line for Swifter.
Okay. Since Swifter, you're taking your time. You're watching yourself because you said you don't want to rush into things. CV comes right up, takes no heed of patience or anything, and so CV, you catch up to Swifter.
And Swifter just sort of looks down at this Veloy now standing next to him, not seeming especially rattled. And then he looks up at Subject X in the distance in the darkness with these, again, dark brown eyes. And you see him, Stevie, just slowly put his short sword, tuck it back into the sash around his waist. And he says, just very quietly, but probably loud enough that Subject X would be able to hear, "Come on, Stevie. Let's make sure she doesn't hurt herself."
Yeah, CV, at this point, you think you can make out Subject X off in the distance.
Then I'll head that way.
Are you both following the curve? Okay, well, say Swifter, are you going to follow the curve, or are you going to make a straight line for Subject X now?
He's still going to follow the curve.
And CV, are you going to follow Swifter around, or are you just going to walk straight for Subject X?
Straight for Subject X.
Okay, so you walk over, and maybe about halfway through the next quarter, CV shows up in front of you, X.
Just looks to her. I mean, looks to him. Then looks back and continues walking. Now a little bit more bolstered by having companionship.
CV, do you say anything? You're just going to stare at her.
CV doesn't typically see much. I mean, unless it's out there in the open and blatantly obvious, CV is looking at her and for a moment pauses. He's waiting for an order. And then Swifter, what are we doing? Are we just...
We are proceeding into the next chamber. That is what we are doing. And he'd move forward to stand with CV and Subject X.
By this point, X has made it 3/4 of the way around, still hasn't found a door or an opening or anything. And if you continue along, you've made it pretty much, the room is a circle, more or less, and you didn't find anything along the outside.
And I think at this point, Swifter would look at CV and just say very quietly, CV, what did, and he looks over at Subject X, what did she do when Azaki caused you and the others to fall through that hole in the floor? Did she help?
CV was too busy saving Isling to notice.
And Swifter would nod once and then look at you, Subject X, probably for, well, not the first time, but he turns this stony gaze on you and his eyes narrow and he says, did you help?
She pauses mid-stride, looks back to you, and she gives you a look of like, not one of guilt. She does not show guilt with her face. She does not show pride with her face, but she shows fragility in her face. She shows the face of a victim, not of a neglectful person, nor a hero.
And Swifter sees this in her face, and again, this inscrutable expression flitters across his face, and he places one hand on the hilt of his short sword and steps forward and says again, when they fell through the hole in the floor, Subject X, did you help? Did you stand there? Did you push them? Did you help them?
She points to her throat. She holds her chest. She grips the undersuit that she wears tightly in a fist, kind of bundling the cloth that it's made of.
It is a simple question. You can nod your head or shake your head.
She pauses, as if concerned and confused about her answer. She raises one finger as if like, oh, I've got a point here, like it's just, like that. And she does this, the one finger raised while shaking her head.
She shakes her head?
Yes.
And Swifter looks at you again, CV, and says, CV, you did not see her helping. This is true?
CV was not paying attention, no.
And Swifter just exhales this breath through his nose as he looks around this dark circular room. And he just says, I never understood why it was you were sent from Sanctuary with us. You were this clanking thing corrupted by the arcane. But maybe this is a test. Maybe you were sent to test me, to test us. Where is Cacophonix?
She's right behind CV.
Damn it!
And Cacophonix, you have learned a lot about agriculture and modifying crops to improve the quality of the food and everything. A lot more than you probably wanted to know. And you wake up at this point and and you're back in the chamber.
Am I still holding the orb?
Yes, you are.
And it's not affecting me anymore. Okay.
It's still glowing and you can feel it. You think if you wanted to, you could access it again. but it doesn't draw you in.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. That was a lesson. My brain is hurting. I didn't know there was such a thing as farming. I mean, we don't have that where I came from, so it's all kind of alien, and it's going to take a while to process. But I now know, like, I could feed everybody. This is great. I feel wonderful. And with that, he's going to look around and notice that there's nobody here anymore, and he's going to head towards the only way that they could have gone, which is further into the room.
And as you walk...
I'm still holding the orb. I'm not going to...
Okay. It provides some light, even though you can see in the dark, but it effectively makes it normal light for you as you're walking by. And as you make it to the entrance to the next room, there 3 party members are there having a conversation, I guess. Sivi's looking back. He just turned away from, and he says, "She was right. He was right behind me," and you appear.
Did you guys find out anything?
We are on the verge of finding something out. I'm curious, though, Cacophonix, when the floor caved in because of our friend Izaki, did this one help? And he nods in the direction of Subject X.
Yes, as best as she could until the waters took her down. She tried to save, was it Isleen? But the waters were too much, and with her heavy armor, it dragged her down to the bottom.
And Swifter nods and looks over at you, Subject X, and tilts his head to the side for a moment. And then he shrugs as if this whole conversation was no big deal, and he looks back at Cacophonix and says, "Very well, then we shall continue, though this room seems to be a dead end."
The 3 of you notice that when Cacophonix came in, he is holding one of the orbs, and it's providing a nice amount of light that this room is a lot brighter now, at least in a small area. You can't really quite see the whole room, but it's lit up enough that it looks like it's pretty empty. But also, he's holding an orb in his hand.
Sivi will back up and then make sure that he also backs away from any of the other orbs that are in the area in case Cacophonix decides to go towards them.
There aren't any nearby. They're all in the other area. In this room, you only see the one that he's holding.
Cacophonix, why exactly are you holding one of those accursed things?
And he looks at you and he's like, oh yeah, I know everything there's to know about plants and food and making them grow and harvesting and making new ones. And he starts going on this tirade of knowledge and just getting more and more excited as he's going and talking faster and faster, and about things you probably don't even understand because he's barely getting it himself. And probably kind of mixing it up a bit.
Cacophonix, I think maybe you should put that orb down. It seems to be scrambling your brains. I have seen this happen to some of the older members of the Temple of the Pure. It is not uncommon, but here, and he sort of moves towards Cacophonix with one hand outstretched. Give me the orb, and we will dispose of it.
So he puts out his hand, and so Cacophonix is definitely going to place it right in your palm.
Roll a wisdom saving throw.
I completely forgot about that. All right, wisdom saving throw. Great, I got a +2 on those. So let's see. That's a 7.
And you fall over.
I would like to use a reaction because I know it was going to happen to try and catch him so he doesn't hit so hard.
Okay, roll a dexterity saving throw. Or
That would be a 13.
sure, you you catch him as he goes unconscious. So it's like, here you go, and you put out your arm right away, and you catch him. And do you lower him to the ground, or do you hold on to him?
I lower him gently to the floor.
Okay, and Swifter's undergoing the exact same vision as I described before, and you're getting all this information about agriculture and plants and growing and stuff. Unless Sevy's going to stop it again. I don't think Sevy's
Nope.
going to get anywhere near that orb. Or X, are you going to...
X
Stop.
looks down. Yeah, X looks down at the slumbering body of Swifted and Swords, and at first she had a look of exclamation, her mouth forming an kind of gesture. But then seeing, him fall into the arms of Cacophonix, she kind of a little bit of a smile creeps across her face. Not an obvious, blatant one, but kind of a little small one. One of not of grudgery, but just of like do Cummins. And she looks to Civi and looks to the Cacophonix, and then kind of gestures behind her shoulder at the rest of the room that lays shrouded in darkness and dim light behind her, and kind of has a look of questioning, of like uncertainty, of kind of a what should we do next kind of thing.
You guys, Swifter will be out for a bit. So, what did you guys want to do? Wait for him, or did you want to look around again now that you have a little bit more light?
I definitely will take this time to kind of look around to see what this room is. I'm not too worried about Swifter because I've been through it. I know he'll be fine. And so yeah, I'm using all my attention on the room to see what we can see in this room.
Now, I'm pretty sure someone has a torch or a light source. Nobody wants to light one? Or are you going to just walk around with just a little bit of light from the orb?
I can create a light. Okay, I can create a light with the casting the light cantrip. My gauntlet will glow and kind of act as kind of like a spotlight or a flashlight, or even just a glowing lantern.
You remember suddenly, it's like, oh, I can cast light. So,
whoops.
So now the room is lit up well enough, and as I described, it's a round room. Nothing, just the one entrance into it that you can see. And what would you like to do?
There's nothing at its center, this room?
Nothing in the center of this room.
How large is the room across?
I'm going to say maybe 30-foot diameter, maybe 40 feet.
It's like a 30 to 40 foot circular room that's absolutely empty.
Yes.
Arm outstretched. Subject X with the gauntleted hand. The purple glow, instead of it just being a light source now, it is a source of information. As she scans with her hand outstretched the entirety of the diameter or the circumference of this of this room, kind of pivoting at the center, just kind of spinning around slowly, arm going up and down, just kind of looking around. She uses detect magic at will because of her cool little invocation, just to get a sense of anything that may be hidden beyond or what our eyes can see.
Just additional information. It is a dome shaped, so it is a round ceiling as well. And let's see. Can you roll me? Basically, roll me a charisma attack, like a magic attack type thing. Is that
19.
charisma? Okay.
Yeah, 19.
You seem to come up with some resistance, actually. Like obviously, you pick up the magic aura from the orb, and in the other room, but in this room, you can't seem to get past the walls. It's not so much magic; it's almost like it's you can't penetrate the walls for some reason.
But nothing within the walls.
Nothing within the room or past.
Yeah.
You can't sense past the walls.
She looks straight up. What is at the top point of this curve of the dome?
More of the same. Nothing.
No hole, no grate. What's at the bottom of the floor? Is there any kind of like?
Oh, so roll an investigation check. See if you find anything.
That's a floor dice. Those don't count. I got a 15 on my investigation.
Take a look at the floor, ceiling. You're not finding anything that looks other than just stone floor or ceiling.
She looks to the entrance to this circular dome room, where the corridor turned and opened into this large concave area. She looks at the seams between kind of where it became, a corridor into a room. Is there anything at that seam or any kind of thing of interest as that transition occurs?
The composition, everything looks the same, stone material, but nothing different other than it opens up.
Yeah, she's looking for maybe any kind of hidden latches or holes, like tiny little holes, like arrow slits or anything. But I guess she sees nothing of those sorts. And she looks with concern upon Cacophonix. I don't know how well he can, do charades. But she does her best to mime with a poorly mime. She's just not a very practiced mimer. The idea that the walls themselves are impenetrable to her witch sight, her eldritch sight of her gauntlet, and I guess it kind of resolves and kind of boils down to her kind of lightly punching her own palm, as if there's a resistance of her hand is a resistance, and she's like punching her own hand, and looks very kind of concerned at Cacophonix.
So I think Cacophonix is trying to understand what she's saying, and he understands that she's talking about the walls and like punching through them. So I think he's going to try to use mold earth on one of the walls to try to, make a hole, like she's saying.
And where would you like to do that? Near the entrance there? Where you were sending?
Where is she gestilating most at the point? Was she?
I think I went off to wander and kind of came back to you wherever you were. Okay, we're looking at the center of the room and stuff, right? Kind of.
If you're standing near Swifter, that's probably just to the left of the entrance.
Yep, sounds good. Just at some point in the wall, I guess.
Yeah, so maybe about a third of the um, about a third of the way around.
So let's use compass.
Or clock or
South
something.
is where you came in from.
Mhm.
Swifter's about southwest or in that area. So where would you like to go roughly?
Not quite to west, but just about.
All right,
Yeah.
southwest west, I guess it's called.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Subject X kind of follows you as you just approach the wall, like with such like confidence. It's like, okay, maybe he understood, and then you start casting your spell, and I'm like, okay, interesting. I'm gonna watch what happens.
I start singing singing a tune, kind of. It's kind of got maybe has words to it. You're not quite sure. And I kind of gesticulating at this area of the wall. What I'm trying to do is make a hole. If it actually is stone or earth, I'll make a hole about 5 feet and deposit the dirt somewhere on the floor.
So this is a cantrip, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Basically, give me a spell attack.
So that would be a 23.
So you take out a 5-foot section of dirt, deposit it onto the ground, and it reforms the hole and fills up again.
Subject X looks to you in kind of astonishment and wonder and puzzlement as this phenomenon happens before our very eyes.
Yeah, and Cacophonix is going to return that look of surprise and what just happened there?
She places her naked palm, not the gauntleted one, against the stone or whatever material this dome is made of, at the spot where it just reformed. And she feels it. She traces her fingers along it. She feels it with every soft bump of her palm.
It feels just the same as the rest of the wall. And the stone stuff that you pulled out disappeared.
It's gone.
Yeah, it sort of melted away and not melted, like just disappeared, like little by little. Yeah, disintegrated. Yeah, disintegrated, and the wall reformed in its spot. And Swifter, you're waking up about now.
So Swifter opens his eyes slowly, feeling strangely refreshed, if a little bit overwhelmed by all the agricultural knowledge he now has. And he takes his sort of ratty knapsack and he puts the orb inside wordlessly as he sort of stands up and brushes off his simple sackcloth breeches. And he looks at his 3 companions who are sort of moving around the room and attempting to figure out what's going on. And he sees that they haven't made really any headway. He also sees somebody has a torch, right? There's some light being shed. Is that correct?
Off my magic hand.
Gotcha. So he sees that, and then he looks at the others and says, well, that was interesting. Maybe we should leave. Maybe these orbs were what we were sent here to retrieve. Perhaps they are, I don't know. You are right, Cacophonix. There was a great deal to learn about farming, I think. And he actually smiles a little bit. I think this could actually help the people back home, which is important. It's the reason we came out here, of course.
And Cacophonix turns to you like, right? Like, it's amazing. My head is so full. But this wall is weird.
How so?
It remade itself.
Oh.
I made a hole, and it filled itself right back up again. And there's no seam, there's no mark, it's like I didn't do it. I don't understand.
I wonder. And Swifter is actually going to turn around and walk out of this room back into the room with the alcoves and the orbs. And he is going to approach one of the ones that are flickering or damaged, and he is going to attempt to destroy it.
And how would you like to do that?
I have a short sword or a quarterstaff. I'm going to go with the short sword.
Not gonna use your fist?
Nah, man. Swifter ain't no fool.
Okay, roll an attack roll.
That's an 11.
You try to hit it, but your sword actually slides off, even though it's. You think you're trying to get right into one of the cracks, and it just slides right off the side.
You know, hang on a second. So this might be kind of weird, and this is totally up to you, DM. But so there is a Hob racial called Artificer's Lore, I guess, which allows me to, let's see, twice my proficiency bonus to history checks related to magic items, alchemical objects, or technological devices. The thing is, because it's not from Sanctuary, I probably wouldn't know anything about this anyway, but could I make some kind of check to see if I could tell what these things are?
Go ahead.
What are you thinking? Do you want me to do a history, or do you want me to do Arcana, or what are you thinking?
Well, we'll follow what it is. So yeah, do a history check with double your proficiency bonus.
I can't roll at all. So that is a it's like +2 or something at this level. Yeah, so that's an 8.
It's not much more than you've already figured out there. They hold information, and they share that information with whoever touches them.
Okay, so I think Swifter is actually going to try to somehow put the rest of the orbs into his bag, sort of like he saw what Stevie was doing before. But he's going to try and do that because he actually wasn't there when the explosion happened, so he doesn't know. And he didn't hear it either because he was too busy running after Subject X.
Okay, so you're taking one of the damaged ones that's in front of you?
Yeah, I think he'll start with the ones closest to him and then sort of move around the room.
Is anyone there with Swifter watching him do this?
Not I. Subject X is too busy looking at that strange wall.
As is Cacophonix.
CV, did you follow Swifter or not?
Sure.
Are you going to stop Swifter from... He looks like he's about to put the damaged orb into his backpack where he put the other one.
Yeah, in his head, the loudest noise he has ever heard, ear-splitting. I am both verbally shouting, while at the same time, you are getting it as a mental attack to your brain in stop! Just as it feels like it's echoing inside of your head, not just in this cave.
So I think Swifter would be startled, one, by the shout, but then hearing it in his head, he immediately whips around with his short sword coming out to attack whatever it is that's screaming at him, and then he realizes it's CV, and he sees him, and he's like, What was that? How was your voice in my mind, CV? I did not think you could use magic.
What?
I heard your voice in my head screaming for me to stop. Normal people cannot talk to each other in their heads.
CV, as you look at him, you see this, what? And then this realization of, CV continues to be chosen.
By
Yes.
what?
I have gained the power to speak to you with my mind.
And Swifter just kind of looks around this room, and he looks at you, CV, and just says, "Why should I stop, CV, the mind speaker?
Look at CV.
I am looking at you, CV."
And I will, and CV walks over to the broken shards in the floor on the other side of the room in the bag. CV tried to put 2 orbs into the same bag. It exploded and threw CV across the room. As much as CV would like to watch this happen to someone else, CV suggests that you don't do it.
I see. And Swifter sees the shards, and he nods slowly to himself. And he looks back at you, CV, and says, "I am wondering, CV, if perhaps we remove these orbs from their pedestals. Perhaps that will cause something to change. I attempted to strike one with my blade. It did not work. But it seems as if we have reached a dead end, and I was thinking that perhaps either destroying the orbs or removing them might solve that problem."
CV will pull out another sack from his backpack. Dog poo another orb. And without putting the sack back around it, CV rolls it across the floor and says, "Roll yours to CV's orb."
Oh, that's a good idea. Do you have a cloth of some kind, though? My bag is currently in use.
So you took the damaged one from where Swifter is, or did you take another one from another alcove?
I took one from another alcove.
All right, let me see. That was intact one.
So Swifter would just kind of fish through his knapsack for a second, trying not to touch the orb that he already put in there. And he's going to pull out just like a scrap of cloth, something to put over his hand as he takes the other damaged orb, since 2 of them were flickering or damaged, and he has one of those in his bag, I think. And he's going to try and palm the second one and kind of roll it over towards where CV rolled the other one.
Do you realize it's only 10 feet this hallway, and you guys are standing pretty much around the 10-foot mark, give or take a few feet?
So, I mean, it's a very small roll. It's more of a gentle tap.
Well, that's where you guys were. If you're rolling them, you guys didn't say you were moving, so you rolled them. Okay.
It's a 10-foot wide hallway or a 10-foot long hallway?
Wide, and you guys were on opposite sides, and you rolled them towards each other.
No. I'm rolling it down the hall.
Oh, okay. So it's a lot longer.
I already know that these are going to explode. I'm not rolling them toward him.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually a good point. So I guess Swifter would probably roll his the opposite way that CV was rolling his, so we don't even have to run into that problem potentially.
Okay. So one intact one and one damaged one. So the damaged one, let's see. Actually, roll. I'll let you roll an attack roll, Swifter. Dex or strength. Just to see how well you roll a damaged one across the hall.
So an attack roll, he said?
Yeah, sure. Like, just consider yourself proficient. It's just whatever.
Okay, so 15. Actually, a decent roll for once.
And as the two come into contact, as soon as they touch, they shatter and into a lot of little pieces.
Yeah, I mean, as long as, it seems to be doing something. Swifter, maybe after seeing the second set explode, he will, instead of rolling them, he will just sort of palm them with the cloth over his hand and just set them down at the base of the pedestals as he continues around the room trying to remove all of the orbs from where they were floating before.
So you're going to remove the rest of them. Okay, so that leaves 2 intact ones. Well, there's the one in your bag, the 2 intact ones that you're putting on the floor, and 1 damaged one. Are you putting them near each other, or?
No, just at the base of their pedestals. So not touching, just base of the pedestals, not rolling, not doing anything else with them.
Okay.
Does anything happen?
Nope.
CV, I do not think this is working.
CV has not exploded again. This works fine.
Maybe we have to make them explode. Maybe that's the way we destroy them. But we could do it where we are both at a safe distance away, so that none of us gets hurt.
I would. CV prefers to bring one back home.
So why don't you take one, and I have one in my bag, and then we will destroy the rest. Does that work?
Yes. Just don't get too close to CV.
Yes, that is a good idea. So how should we do this? How can we bring these together in a way that we are not going to be too close when they explode? This is very puzzling, CV. This whole situation, I feel like I have stepped into, well, never mind. Anyway.
So while you guys are figuring that out, what are Cacophonix and X doing now? Are they still staring at the wall?
Well, I mean, that is a very puzzling wall. But I think would we hear the shattering of the orbs? Do they make a lot of noise?
I'll give you a perception check, each of you. No penalties.
Well, I got a total of 3, so this wall is very entrancing.
I rolled a 20 for a total of 22.
You hear a lot of glass breaking type sound, and like crystal type thing, and like maybe a magic explosion, like almost like a bang of some kind, but not loud.
As soon as I hear that, I turn to Subject X and I say to her, they're destroying the orbs. How many explosions did I hear?
You just heard the one. That's all that happened. So they haven't started with the rest yet.
Yeah, they're exploding the orbs. I hope they're okay. Because the last thing that Cacophonix can remember is that Swifter had one in his hand and was going back to get another one, and he's like, oh my gosh. And so he heads immediately for the other room to make sure that Swifter hasn't blown himself up.
Yep, Subject X follows suit, following the noise, following the running bard to make sure that Swifter's all right. He has not blown his arm off or something worse.
He can still fight without an arm. He's a monk.
I mean, yeah, he can fight unarmed, right? Even with both arms lost.
As you walk in, you see that they're standing by one of the Swifters in one of the alcoves, and CV's another, and they're well, you can probably CV's not in, but Swifters moved them a few onto the ground, and you can see they're not that close together. They're probably a few feet away, talking about destroying the rest of them.
Immediately, Subject X steps out ahead, seeing that your intent is to destroy them, not an accidental one, and she holds out her hand to kind of tell you to halt. She runs up to you, Swifter, and tries to stop you from throwing or whatever, like just holding her hand on your arm, maybe your elbow, just to stay your hand. And she just shakes her head at you, not angrily, but more just desperate, not desperation even, just a a wizened no.
Swifter's eyes very slowly track down to the hand that is touching his arm, and then very slowly track back up to your face, Subject X. And he just says very, very slowly, "Please remove your hand."
She looks down at her hand, and then, after a pausing moment, snaps it away as if, as if she had like poked a bear or something.
Thank you. Now, as far as you're concerned, and he sort of hefts his sack or his pack that he has, I have one orb here for our people at home. CV has one for the Veloy. I think we should destroy the rest. Perhaps that will cause something in this.
She shakes her head
insane to
fervently.
change.
She
What?
shakes her head fervently when you say to destroy the rest.
Why?
She points one hand at the palm of the other, kind of face up and face down. To I don't know. She's just jabbing her hand. Maybe screen sharing is the wrong thing to do here because I'm gesticulating a lot. She like does this with her open palm while shaking her head.
Do you want to take one?
And she looks around. How many are intact still?
There are 2 intact ones on the floor.
Like non-destroyed ones.
Yeah, there's 2 intact ones on the floor and one that's flickering. That looks like it's damaged, but still has.
So there's a total of 5 that are not shattered.
No, 3.
Sounds about right.
That's just sorry.
Because there's 2 in each. There's 2 in the bags, right? Each person has one.
CV hasn't picked one up yet.
No, CV. I thought CV had one. CV dog pooped one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so CV and Swifter.
Let's go back. One. There were 6 original with 2 damage. They destroyed 2. So there were 3 total, 1 damage. You each took a. So there's 1 left intact and 1 that looks like it might be damaged. It's flickering.
Anyway, so she can't. She with a pointed finger, she points to each of them, holds up 4, and like does this motion.
And Swifter looks over at you, Cacophonix, and says, "Do you have any idea what she's trying to say?"
Yeah, we each get one. And he looks at you like, how can you not understand that?
And then she turns her head to like object to you, and then like kind of stops, pauses for a moment, and then nods.
So who's taking the intact one and who's taking the damaged one?
I actually have a question real quick. Connor, when Subject X was wearing her Enviro suit, was there any sort of symbol or icon of the Watchtower on the suit?
Absolutely. Big and emblazoned on one of the chest plates was the Watchtower symbol.
So Swifter would... How far away are the 2 orbs that are left from each other?
Let's just say those are the last 2. They're within a few feet from each of you. That's probably the two right across from each other because you guys went systematically through. We'll just say they're the last 2.
And Swifter will look at you, Cacophonix, and say, "If you want, Cacophonix, I have a cloth," and he holds up just this like dirty scrap of linen that he's been using to palm these things. "If you would like to, you can use this to pick up one, but I am somewhat reluctant," and he turns these dark brown eyes on you, Subject X, for probably the umpteenth time during this whole escapade. "I am reluctant to allow something like this, a repository of information, into the hands of an organization like the Watchtower."
What? Maybe if you give them the one of agriculture that you have in your bag, then you know exactly which one, or maybe you can touch the rest of them and see which one is safer to give to the Watchtower.
Stay out of this, voice of God. No, I'm just kidding.
Since when do the players do what the DM wants? So far, you guys haven't done anything. You didn't die. You didn't do a couple other things, but we could talk about that another time.
So you're holding one Swifter, right? And
No,
you have one
so-
in possession.
Swifter has one in his pack, and then he has this dirty scrap of cloth that he's been using to avoid physical contact with the orbs. And that's what he has in his hand.
And then, there's one at the foot. That's right. Because you put it
Correct.
off the pedestal.
Correct.
She reaches down with her big copper gauntlet, the one that's inlaid with a giant gem in the palm. She pauses just for a moment with the giant gauntlet, like an inch or less from the surface of the sphere, and then she grabs it after a little bit of a moment's pause.
Can you give me a wisdom saving throw?
Natural 20 for a total of 19. Sorry, no, total 21. I got proficiency.
You connect with the repository, but you're not dragged into it. Do you want to examine it, or do you want to leave it alone and just hold on to it?
Do I have the feeling that I will fall asleep when I look into it? Would I slip out of my consciousness if I were to do so, or is it unclear?
You think it's unclear for you right now, but you think actually with that, you think you can enter into it, but it will put you into a sort of a trance.
Yeah, a trance. Okay,
Yeah, almost like an out of body or inside your mind type experience.
And so as this greetings from this arcane orb happens, at first she resists. She's very good and prepared and trained from a very young age to have bodily autonomy. But then, as it happens, it's a curious sight she sees, and like a trickling faucet, drip by drip. At first, she slowly turns it on and allows more and more of this information to flow through, controlled at first, until there's enough of it to actually make sense of what's going on.
You feel that to get a better understanding and properly connect, you might need to mentally go into it, I guess.
Yeah. And she'll do so in a controlled kind of like one step after the next. Just, okay, is this too far? Is this too far? Until it finally happens.
So you can choose to sit down, I guess, before you fully enter. And Cacophonix is they're expecting you to fall over, and Cacophonix is right there to catch you. And
yeah. And imagine I'm like holding it, and I'm looking down into it, and like my eyes are glowing or something.
But nothing's. You're waiting. Everyone's waiting for the fall, and a few moments pass, and she just sits down and her eyes close, and she's holding on to the orb. Yeah, talk about abomination, right, Swifter?
So as soon as Subject X's hand touches the orb, and then Swifter starts to move, but then he stops because he realizes, oh, she's going to fall into that trance or whatever, and then she doesn't, and then she slowly, gradually starts to, and he waits for her to fully fall into that trance, and he's going to attempt to take the rag and palm that orb out of her grip if he can, if not, somehow knock it loose, whether with his fist or with his staff.
Oh, a slight addition, retcon. You're grabbing it with your
so it's like
hand? No, sorry. So X. You grabbed it with your gauntlet.
Yep, just to be able to have like the gauntlet's power also connect to the orb. If you know what I mean. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, the gem on your gauntlet was glowing when you made contact with it, and it still is glowing. Okay, Swifter. I guess try strength check.
And if Swifter makes a move towards her, Cacophonix is ready to try to stop his arm from touching.
Okay.
I mean, I know what happened last time. Like, I still have a big gash on my hand, so I'm.
Okay, so for the three of you who are conscious, can I get initiative?
19.
Of course, you
Wow.
have to roll that now. And CV, you can. Okay, CV's not wanting to get involved with a 5. Okay, so you start strength check for faster than he's moved all day. Swifter.
Priorities, right? You know, gotta stop the abomination from being an abomination, you dingus.
Dying isn't important. Stopping the abomination is important. So, all right, strength check.
That's going to be a 13.
Is it opposed or just on his part?
It's not opposed with you.
Ooh.
Yeah, so Swifter is just kind of diving with his hand. I mean, he's not going to use a weapon unless he has to try and get this cloth on the orb so he can wrench it out of Subject X's hands.
The orb, you grab onto the orb and you pull the orb, and the arm moves with it. It seems to be kind of stuck to her hand. And Cacophonix. You see, Swifter just snatch the orb, pull it away, and wrenching X's arm out, but not enough to do any damage. Not yet.
So Cacophonix was going to try to stop him, so was aiming for his arm to push it aside, basically. Because he knows, how rude the awakening was when you were brought out so rudely. So he's trying to stop him. So kind of, you know how you body check a person kind of thing, but he's kind of trying to chop down at the arm. He was trying to stop it, but he didn't touch it, so.
Okay, athletic checks, but Swifter, you can do acrobatics as well. So like an opposed athletics check, but yeah.
Oh, that's an 11.
21.
He seems to be made of stone, this Hob. It's like, why couldn't he do this in the fight? Move this fast and be this dense.
And as Cacophonix, as he's reaching, he's like, stop, you'll hurt her.
You know, that has never been high on my list of concerns, Cacophonix.
Well, maybe it should be. Have you looked at yourself?
I have, and I am doing what is necessary for Sanctuary. Do you not know the organization that she represents? Do you not know of the Watchtower? You have so much to learn, and yet you think you know everything. And honestly, this is not the time for it. And Swifter's going to attempt to pull the orb away from Subject X.
CV, are you going to get in the middle of this disagreement?
No, I have my own orb. The last thing I want is for it to explode on me again.
Swifter has one in his backpack, and he's holding on to the other one right now, so he's in close proximity.
All right, well then I will, for my turn then, I will just stay most, I will shout out like, seriously, you want to fight over all of this right now? God, CV can't stand you people.
Trust me, CV, it is not what I want either. I merely wish to keep the information contained within these orbs out of the wrong hands. And I cannot think of any hands more wrong than these. And he nods towards Subject X.
How is X going to get any of that information back?
When you touch the orb, CV, you experience the information. Is that not so, Cacophonix? I experienced it. X will be able to retain this information because she will have experienced it and she will take it back to our people, to her people. And that I will not allow.
And how do you think you're getting back to your people?
By walking out of this cavern? This is ridiculous, CV. We can have this conversation another time. Let me just get this damn thing out of her hands. He starts yanking again on the...
Your people are not from here.
Yes. So? That does not mean this information is not useful to us, CV. You're muted, Jim.
You said you are not from CV's world.
Yes?
How does this information help your world? This information, whatever is on it, has to do with evil.
I mean, the orb that Cacophonix and I touched was not evil. It contained important information about agricultural techniques, techniques that we do not have back where we come from. It is useful to us. But I would rather it be in the hands of someone like myself, or even Cacophonix, or even you, than the people that Subject X belongs to.
And how is she going to tell them? And CV gestures toward her throat with the spear.
And Swifter actually stops, not having realized that CV could be this ruthless, but then realizing, of course he is, because he's seen him fight. And he says, I would... And he looks down at Subject X. And weirdly enough, Cacophonix, he seems to be looking down at Subject X's hair, of all things. And he looks back to CV and he says, I would prefer not to kill her outright. She is still a citizen of Sanctuary.
Oh, look at her throat.
Both Cacophonix jumps in. She
The
can't
girl
talk.
cannot speak.
She can't talk to anybody.
Do you truly think, Cacophonix, that the Watchtower is so ignorant that they do not have some way to perhaps access whatever strange gem Subject X has in her gauntlet to extract information out of that? That is what they do. They are information brokers. They will have a way to unravel the secrets contained within this mute child. I have no doubt about it.
Then what's stopping them from taking the information from you or me?
Because I have the Temple of the Pure, and the doors are always open to you, Cacophonix.
Not here.
I agree. So let us get it out of her hands then, without killing her.
Your temple and her tower does not exist in CV's world.
Connor,
Yes.
do you have a response for all this?
As like my hand is glued to this orb, my eyes are still, my body is still. And Swifter's still holding on to the orb, right? Like that's the contest going on.
Yeah, it's almost
Yeah.
like he pulled your hand, so
Yeah, it's like a tug of war.
yeah, and then Cacophonix is trying to pull on his arm as well, and CV's. Well, CV, you have the spear against X's throat?
No. He's not using it to threaten. He's using it to point.
Oh,
Because one of the very first things that was ever described to us about when we actually saw Subject X out of the armor was this gash across her throat. So I'm trying to go look at her, and I'm pointing to this gash, this scar.
And so, Swifter, does a 19 beat your armor class?
Damn straight it does.
All right. So as you're holding on to this orb, immediately the gem on the palm of Subject X's gauntlet begins to crackle with purplish energy and lightning as you're holding on to it, and it kind of crackles like static electricity, and it hangs in the air, smells of ozone, and then it sparks up around the orb and into your fingers and crawls up your hand and into your mind. You're gonna take I don't have a die for this. Okay, let me get the dice. Here it is. 10 points of lightning damage. As a voice that sounds like 10 different voices put through, you know how in crime shows, like the thing is always put through a weird filter when the villain's talking to keep it anonymous. It's like that, but 10 different voices in unison scream in your mind, "Let's go."
the villain voice. That's a nice.
The villain voice, the evil
Voice.
villain voice. Yeah.
Swifter endures this pain like he has endured quite a few pains in his life, both before the temple and during his time in the temple. But he is rattled. I mean, you see the smoke rising from his simple cloth vestments and the charred patches of skin as he looks at the other two and he says, "How can you not understand? How can you be so blind to what she is? What sort of organization would send someone to gather information if they did not have a way to receive that information from her?" And then he is going to attempt to punch Subject X as hard as he can in the face. Let's see. This is just a straight attack type daily. So that's going to be a 21 to hit.
Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good to hit. But as you go to strike, you'll notice that a shimmering force field would appear around her as you strike her, but you're able to probably push through it with ease.
Wait,
probably your anger.
So does it connect or does it not?
It would, yes, but it is met with much resistance.
So yeah, this. So I imagine that he's holding onto the orb with this cloth over his hand with his right hand, and then he just smashes his left hand into Subject X's face. Go ahead.
Just trying to think if Cacophonix or CV do a DC. What was the AC you hit?
I had a 21.
If you could do a reflex save and beat 21 and allow you to intercept that attack.
I'm also going to burn a key point to Flurry of Blows as well.
I don't think X has a lot of hit points.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
I was going to say, so she's taking 4 points of damage from first strike unless somebody's doing stuff.
Is anyone retaliating? Stopping her?
I tried. I'm too slow.
Okay, so you took the damage.
Mhm.
And I guess you're flurrying of blows.
Alrighty. And let's see. So 2 unarmed strikes. Let's see. The next one is a 17 to X.
That one would not be able to break through a force field.
Okay, and the next one is even worse than that. That's a 15.
Yeah, so after those 2 hits, the force field stays, and you just can't push through it. Maybe
So
each strike is a little bit weaker, you get more tired or something.
So I imagine sort of as that first punch connected, he sort of pulls his hand back, tries to slam his left elbow into Subject X in the same place, but the shield repels it, as does the knee that follows up. And then he's, shit. Yeah, he's going to go ahead and sort of, still with the cloth in his hand, which is probably smoking a little from the electricity, he's going to step back away from Subject X if he can, taking an op attack if I guess that's a thing.
Sorry, I missed that. So you you finish with the flurry of blows. None of them connect.
Correct. And then he's going to move back if possible. If he has to take an op attack, then he'll take an op attack.
And you lose grip of the orb that I'm holding?
Correct. He doesn't want to get shocked again.
All right.
So yeah, so you back away. There's no attack. You're not engaged with the two of them, and X is still unconscious, I guess.
Entranced is the word I use, yeah.
Yes, entranced. Cacophonix, did you want to do anything?
So I just saw Swifter deck Subject X in the face. Just all out punched her.
I mean, he did preface it with, some stuff, but, whatever.
Yeah, stuff, whatever.
So there was a lightning bolt that came and some weird voices.
Did I hear the voices? Or was
No,
it just...
only what's his nuts heard the voices.
But
what other people saw was like this tug of war, and immediately the gauntlet started crackling with electricity and lightning from it, and the smell of ozone in the air. and then it kind of like the hairs on his arm kind of stood on end as like lightning arcs from hair to hair, causing the smell of burnt hair to permeate in the area. And then he just like punches me as a force field erupts and tries to block his blows, and then he is in a huff and then steps back.
Okay, so Cacophonix, seeing all this, is going to stand in front of Subject X, between Subject X and Swifter, and he's glaring at Swifter, and it's like, "Stand down, old man! This is not the time! It's too late. You let it run its course. Deal with it afterwards, or I'll deal with you now."
And Swifter actually, he smiles at you, Cacophonix, almost like a grandfatherly smile, and he says, "Now that is the voice of a true hob. And here I was despairing of you, Cacophonix. It is good to know you have a little stone in your spine. I will stand down, but when she is done, we are destroying that orb and the other one as well, unless you wish to take one of them, but she will take none."
Fair enough.
CV, did you want to do anything?
CV is watching this, and his eyes light with knowing, like he's got a plan. And then you watch Cacophonix jump in the middle and stops the fight. And CV's plan is ruined. So CV resigns himself.
X, will you be doing something right now? Well,
No, X has not actually reacted any way that a sleeping person would react. Her eyes are closed. Her body is almost like a puppet, just like doing that. Like she had no at all like activeness to her. And as you let go, she kind of slumps back against the wall again and cradles the orb in her palms again, and just continues to kind of like just read it more. Her only next active action would be after she's done reading all this information, consuming all of it, and gaining consciousness once again.
okay. Well, I'm gonna go with Swifter. Are you standing down?
Yeah, Swifter will go ahead and put away his. I don't think he even had his short sword out, but he'll go ahead and show Cacophonix his hands, which are probably still slightly charred from the lightning bolt, and he's actually going to move over towards the other orb because there was another one on the ground, and he's going to attempt to palm it with his charred bit of cloth, and either he'll offer it to Cacophonix first, and if she doesn't take it, he'll offer it to CD.
This is the damaged one.
Correct. Whichever one X doesn't have.
Is Cacophonix, do you take it?
Cacophonix says, "No, I'll take this one when she's done."
Very well. But do not let her have it.
Actually, Swifter, pick high or low.
High.
There's enough cloth left over that you don't do a wisdom saving throw.
That would be really bad for me.
Or not. Who knows? Well, you won't find out today. And I think that's a good spot to end it, and we'll have to wait until next time to see what Subject X learns.
Can we end on the scene of her eyes opening and regaining consciousness?
Sure.
Her eyes open, they kind of flutter a bit as if you've been sleeping and you look at a bright object, you know, the way that if you were woken up by someone turning your light on. She looks around, and then she brings her hand up to her face and pulls it away and sees blood on her nose. And she looks up, confused and scared, at all three of you, and holds her bloodied nose. And that's it.
Thank you for the lone viewer that was there for a little while. And thanks for all the players, and can't wait until next month. Hopefully we can get the whole party together this time. And if you have any outros, we'll go reverse order. Karen, Jim, Jason, and Connor.
I think that's by far my favorite session so far. I loved it. This was awesome. I cannot wait for the next one. And I can only imagine what the other two are going to come across when they come back and see this. So this has been amazing. Thank you.
Oh yeah, lots of fun. Thank you so much, Paul. Again, my name's Jim. I run Jim the GM channel. Doing right now a Wild West Genesis game that we're running every other week, and I'm about to start a Genesis game that's going to be in the Reckoner setting by Brandon Sanderson, where we are a bunch of normal people trying to defeat all of the people with power, because all of the people with power are all villains.
Yes, so I am Jason Asorio with Concepts and Characters, and man, stuff happens. It was kind of surprising to come back after this hiatus and to find ourselves in this situation. It's one of those things that I'm learning with some of these characters is like, even when it sucks to do the thing, sometimes you have to do the thing. Otherwise, it's just not true to the character, and kind of everything else unravels. But anyway, this is great. Thank you so much, Paul, and to all the wonderful players, except that Connor guy. What a jerk. But no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, Concepts and Characters, again, this will be on that channel as soon as it goes up on YouTube. And yeah, we'll see what happens next month. Looking forward to it.
I'm Connor. I am the poor bloodied-nosed girl who did nothing wrong and got beat up by an old man. I run the channel with my significant other, Dice on Ice, where we run live plays of many games, of many varieties, be it Cryfoth, our post-apocalyptic fantasy game, be it some Harbinger with little twists that Megan, the other channel partner, runs, and some other gizmos and gadgets on there too that we'll be definitely adding to our channel further. I had some fun. My favorite kind of sessions are PvP sessions. Like, not like initiative, like we're all smacking each other PvP, but like where we just don't get along about certain things. And I love that drama. I love Paul sitting back for 20 minutes. He's just having some popcorn. He's just eating it. He's just like, this is candy. This is just a beautiful thing. And I like giving the DMs this time to kind of sit back and watch just chaos unfold, instead of trying to always have them come up with the chaos instead. This is a blast. I liked it a lot. I'm glad we have this dynamic. I have no grudge at all against Jason. This has been a blast. Love it. And everyone who watches in the future, past and present, have a good night.
Thank you, everyone. This is Paul, and see you next month.